Man show. We're joined by Georgia State Panther assistant coach Cliff Warren. He was in town previously with Georgia Tech. Now he's here with Georgia State. Coach Warren, how are things going with you guys over there at the Panther place over there, man?
Hey, man, we're good over here at Georgia State. JR, thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Yes, indeed. Well, Coach, maybe just started this way. I know you, like I said, used to be here in Atlanta with Georgia State, which took the head coaching job at Jacksonville, and now you're back here after a couple of stops, man. So how feel being back in ATL, Coach?
Oh, it's wonderful. I love being here in Atlanta. Met a lot of good friends, family, and et cetera, while I spent 5 years here at Georgia Tech working for Paul Hewitt. From a basketball standpoint, couldn't have gotten any better. We made it to the national finals in 2004, came up short against UConn, but great 5 years. Was able to coach a number of really talented players and just some really fine young men. Learned so much from working for Paul Hewitt at Georgia Tech. And then, as you mentioned, I was fortunate enough to become a head coach at Jacksonville, then in Jacksonville, Florida. But now, like you said, being back here in Atlanta, my wife is probably more excited than I am. She's a Spelman College graduate. We met here 14 years ago, and just to be back has been a joy.
The AUC, no doubt.
Yeah.
You got that going for you. Yes, indeed. Well, Coach, I want to talk to you because, in our climate in this world, Coach, with COVID-19, social uprising after the murder of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery right here in Georgia. As you mentioned all fair, I had on Carmen Mascarello, who's an organization called Coaches for Change, and you're a part of that. And I want to have you on talk about that program, Coach. I feel like it's very important, Coach, in our world today that we educate our young student athletes about the issues and how about voting and how about social interactions with one another and how we can enact the change here now after this sad events of our country. We can now move forward and use these young people and get them educated so they can help push the ball forward as John Lewis did or as your generation and my generation is doing as we speak right now.
Sure. I think you mentioned Carmen's done a great job of just getting a team full of coaches together. And, I'm sure he's given you the website, but I'd like to give it to you again. Coaches, the number 4, change.org. If anybody's listening, go to the website. There's a lot of things on it that are just self-explanatory. Got a lot of things on it that will educate you as an individual. There are a lot of things on that website that you can use to educate your team, whether it's an athletic team, corporate team, or family team. And the goal for the organization, again, is to empower our student athletes, to let them know that they can make a change, to engage them in powerful conversations and uncomfortable conversations, to get our young men and young women to evolve into, future leaders in their community. And again, just to make sure that they're aware and conscious of what's going on around them.
You got that right, Coach. And I feel like it's great what Carmen started, and you're involved in it, and Amir Abdul-Rahim's involved in it, Kenan Saul, also the coach Georgia Tech is also involved. So it's see that you guys right here in the Atlanta area are involved, maybe even more interested in it as well, because we're in the hub of civil rights here in Atlanta.
Sure.
We have a lot of great men. Unfortunately, John Lewis has passed away, Reverend Vivian has passed away, and Reverend Larry has passed away. But we have Ambassador Andrew Young still with us, and Dr. Jane Lawson who are still with us. So we're in a hub for this. We're in the epicenter of civil rights in the Black Mecca of the South to help people be an example of what it can be for us if we get past these tough times and want to be equitable once and for all and not always have to have that chip on our shoulder, look over our shoulder all the time and say, oh, my God, George Floyd could be Cliff or JR.
Right. Now, JR, you made a great point. Just being here in Atlanta, and like you mentioned, when I moved here years ago when I worked at Georgia Tech, I didn't realize how much history was here. How many living historians were here about the civil rights movement and beyond, and how many people made changes here in Atlanta. And again, JR, like you mentioned, being here in Atlanta, you and I can look around out our window, out of our office, driving on the highway, and we can see millions of people that look just like us. And to me, that says a lot, and that's powerful. That's another reason why I wanted to join Coaches for Change. I have two sons. They're going to grow up in a world that prayerfully is different than the world that I grew up in, my parents grew up in, and my grandparents grew up in. And trying to teach them from day to day that, yes, they do look differently, but they should not be treated differently than everyone else. My son, who's going into sixth grade right now, gets upset sometimes when I tell him, hey, you're going to be challenged every day in our house. You have to do a little bit extra because I want to make sure that nobody judges you because of the color of your skin. I want to make sure that you are more than qualified for whatever comes your way, and you are prepared and you are equipped. And just like we said, Coaches for Change, that's what we're trying to do with our student athletes and our respective teams. We've got basketball coaches, men's basketball. You've got women's basketball coaches, and you have strength and conditioning coaches. So from the ages of 18, 22, or 24, whatever the students are now in college, we're trying to impact their lives. We're trying to educate them on what's going on in society. One of the biggest things I think all of the coaches around the country now are aware of are because of there's so many young people that have never voted before. That's one of the initiatives we're trying to take, voter registration. We're trying to make sure our team is all registered voters. I don't have the statistics in front of me, but there's a large percentage of student athletes who have never voted and who've never registered to vote. And I saw something the other day that was talking about the different branches of government that you learn in elementary or you learn in middle school. And I think most people, whether you're a teenager or adult, you just assume, well, I'm not voting because I don't have a say-so in the presidential election. Well, voting is more than just voting for the president. You're voting for people who can make laws in your community. You're voting for the mayors in your city. You're voting for people who can become the police chief and things of that nature. So people don't really understand that. So that's one of the many things Coaches for Change is trying to do.
Most definitely, coach. And for me personally, I'm the first one in my family born with four rights after the Voting Rights Act, Civil Rights Act, and for Housing Act, because my mother and father were born in 41 and 51. So they're 79, 69 years old. I'm their only child, 33 years old. I have four rights on paper, but of course, if I go to certain parts of Atlanta that's up Gwinnett County way up past Alpharetta or up past Upper Cobb, what's could possibly happen, right? So we
Sure.
want to get to the point where that's not an issue anymore. Where even down here in Stockbridge, where I'm at, where if I go a little too farther down from Stockbridge down to Hampton or whatever, Griffin, whatever, where it's might be an issue. So we're at
Right.
the point where not because after I get off the radio, I'm Jr. I'm Jr. a black man. Like you get out of the basketball, you just Cliff a black man, not Cliff
Right.
the head coach, the coach. So we got to feel understanding that hey, we are black men all the time. We have a status as a coach or a radio host for a little while, but once we leave, we're just black men have to worry about our lives all the time and our kids' lives because, like you said, any of us can be George Floyd or Brown
Mm-hmm.
Taylor or Ahmaud Arbery if some goes south.
Or, as you mentioned, you and I both are living in the Atlanta area. I mean, Rashad Brooks, again,
Mm-hmm.
got killed not too far from downtown Georgia State campus at the Wendy's. And then they had a protest. So, again, those are real live situations. And to educate our team, like we've been doing every week before they came back to campus on a Zoom call. We've had professors on Zoom calls to educate our players on what does history tell us about what's going on now. Who knows about voting? One of the things that I learned just in the last couple of weeks was about, when college students go to vote, there are I think it's called voter ID requirements. Some of the
Mm-hmm.
places here in Georgia will allow students to bring their student ID, and some will not. So if I'm a college student and all I have is a college ID, and I go to vote, and they tell me no, then what? Most people, most students will say, forget it, I just won't do it. Another thing I learned was if you're not a registered voter, and I know most adults hate getting a notice or an email saying they have jury duty, but if you're not a registered voter, you can't be a part of jury duty. So you can't be a part of a jury. And if, in fact, you or somebody that looks like you happen to be on trial for something, whatever it is, that person's going to look over to the jury and say, wow, nobody in this jury looks like me. That means that young man or young woman may not have as good a chance to go home. That young man or young woman may not have a chance to hear, for the jury to hear his side of the story. So I know, again, heaven forbid I do anything wrong and I go in front of a jury, but I know if I'm in front of a jury, I want to at least look to the jury and say, okay, there are 3 or 4 people that look like me that may be able to understand what I'm going through, how I'm explaining things, how my lawyer, attorney, how they are explaining things. You at least want that much.
You got that right, Coach. Because I think too many times us in our community have, you know, kind of pretty much flipped off voting, flipped off jury duty because all these things are important and give us power. And I
Sure.
think maybe now, finally, Coach, with what's happening in our country with the pandemic and with what happened to all these innocent black people, that,
Yeah.
hey, the power's in our hands. We have to use our voice at the ballot box and in the courtroom to help our people. Because if we don't do help ourselves, we can't expect it for anybody else.
No, you're exactly right. And I think it's been great that I've been able to talk to uh, people who are not of color. They've asked lots of good questions. And I just think, again, there are people out there who are willing to help. There are people out there willing to change. And there are people out there who are not of color who don't realize what really is going on for one reason or another. There's a lot of people out there that say, hey, I don't see color. I was raised the right way, X, Y, Z. That's great. But now we need you to see color to see it like we see it. We need you to see color because this is what's going on and has been going on to us for a long time. So we need you to see color. We need you to empathize with what's going on. And there are also people out there who have lived, if you will, such a privileged life or an exclusive life or an elitist life. Some of them feel like, well, nothing's happened directly to me, so I'm just going to keep moving forward and climbing this quote unquote social ladder, economic ladder, financial ladder in America. And those are some of the people that we have to educate also on, hey, by the way, just because you grew up this way and things were given to you or handed to you or just set up so that you're successful, you need to realize like, hey, everybody didn't grow up that way. So just because you grew up that way, hey, let's make sure that you at least listen to those who did not grow up the same way you grew up.
Most definitely, Coach. And I think that this has been a good thing about what's happened. If you can find some good in what's happened, I'm able to have conversations with my white brothers and sisters about this. And, I would say 80-20 are receptive. 20,
Sure.
20% is hardening those beliefs. But I just say, hey, I tried, but
Yeah.
you gonna do
Yeah.
you. But for 80% I have reached and kind of got them to maybe come off some positions here and see it now as right and wrong. It's not about right and left politically. It's about now right and wrong. So everybody be treated equal or not. That's what it's
Mm-hmm.
about now. I said you can't quote to me Bible verses if you don't think it should be right and wrong about equitable. I said my politics are I'm for the people. I'm for
Sure.
right versus wrong. I'm for people not being in poverty, having a living wage. I'm for the people. I'm for women. I'm for gay, lesbian, trans. I'm for people and them that have their rights to be who they are. But I also live with means and not having to scrap and be at food banks or be crying, rationing out, wondering where the next meal's coming from or the next bill will be paid. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm for
Mm-hmm.
right and wrong and for the people, Coach. That's what people I tell. Our politics are for the people.
JR, that makes perfectly good sense to me. Like I mentioned before, that there is a group of people out there who grew up privileged, and that's the barrier we're trying to break, that privilege barrier. And again, I keep mentioning Coaches for Change. If anybody out there goes to that website, you'll see different categories on that website. You'll see different articles. If you just want to learn more and educate yourself, you can go. If you want to figure out, am I registered to vote? Not just am I registered to vote, but who are the people that I would be voting for? Who are the people in your area? And what do they believe in? It's a dynamite website. Just on that alone, I can go to coachesforchange.org and find out who is running for office of the president, who's running for mayor, who's running for judge, and I can click on certain people and find out what do they believe in. What do they believe healthcare should be? What's their stand on abortion? What's their stand on civil rights? And I can find out, okay, as an individual, do my ideals, do my morals and ethics line up with this person or this person? And now you can go ahead and say, okay, I like person A because of what they stand for on these 5 or 6 issues. Person B, hey, I've heard a lot about. I've seen him on the news, but man, if I look at his policies and the way he thinks, he doesn't think the way I want to. JR, like you mentioned, you're for the people. So let me look on this site. Let me find out about these candidates. Who's for the people? Now I can make an educated decision when I go in there and vote.
Most definitely, Coach. I want to say, I'll let you go, Coach, that using my radio program, Coach, I've gotten backlash from listeners. I've lost 2 sponsors, but I don't care because this is bigger than me, Coach. This is a fight for right and fight for good. And as John Lewis said, this is a good trouble. So if you want to threaten my show or pull out sponsorships or whatever you want to do, I'm doing it for the people and doing what's right by my people and my city. And I can care less about what people think because I feel like this is bigger than me and bigger than you and myself. This is for people and our future down the road as a culture and as a nation.
Jay, I think you're doing a dynamite job. Please, man, as much as you can, preach the gospel according to what you just said. Right versus wrong. That's all. Simple.
Yes, indeed. But Coach Warren, thank you for your time today. This has been very great. I'll do it again with you down the road, man. Tell my man, Coach Lanier, I said what's up. I hope to holler at him real soon as well, man.
JR, you're welcome to come by anytime, man. Thank you for having me on.
Anytime. Thank you, Coach.
Bye-bye.
For all your photo, video, and voiceover needs, check out the fine folks at Blueberry Productions. They will take good care of you. If you don't believe me, you can see for yourself. Check out their work at blueberryproductions.tv, the Facebook page, Blueberry Productions, also a Vimeo page, a YouTube page, and it's Blueberry, BLUBERRY, Prod on Twitter. Check them out today. Blueberry Productions, great people, great work, great service.
Hey there, your yard took a real beating this summer. Luckily, Scott's Turf Builder Winter Guard has your back. Just feed your grass with Scott's again this fall when the air is cool and the soil is warm. It's the perfect time to give your lawn a boost. If you do, Winter Guard will give your yard the nourishment it needs to help weak, thin grass recover and support root growth, giving you a greener, more resilient lawn both now and next spring. Guaranteed. Grab a bag of Scott's Turf Builder Winter Guard today. You'll be back to barbecuing in no time. This is a Scott's Yard.
Hey parents, we all try to be extra careful with our children in the car, but then we get an important call or text. Remember, our children are watching. Make every drive a good example. Be in the zone. Turn off your phone. Visit childrenshospital.vanderbilt.org/BITZ to learn more about our teen driver safety program. Brought to you by Monroe Carroll Jr. Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt, the Ford Motor Company Fund, and the Allstate Foundation.
Hello, my name is Travis Williams, President and CEO of Academics and Athletic Consulting, focusing on educating and empowering tomorrow's collegiate athletic leaders. My passion is for the education and genuine concern and care for today's student athlete. It's the centerpiece of my life's work. A college education, both in and out of the classroom, is a truly rewarding benefit. For more information on AAC, you can go to www.academicsandathleticsconsulting.com. Once again, www.academicsandathleticsconsulting.com. Or you can follow me on Facebook at Academics and Athletic Consulting, or Twitter at Coach TWill24, or Instagram Travis L. Williams 24. Or you can call me at 404-542-6079. Once again, AAC is very proud to partner with J.R. McHenry of the Bossman Radio Show, covering sports and entertainment across the country. Please tune in weekly for informative, entertaining, and expert analysis on today's sports and entertainment topics. Thank you.
Folks, back here on the Bossman Show. Coach David Fisdale, former coach of the Grizzlies and Knicks, here with me. Coach Fisdale, early in the morning in L.A., man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm an early riser, so this is right up my alley.
Yes, indeed. Well, Coach, first I want to ask you is this, man. How are you and your wife doing? You have a little boy on the way. How are you guys doing out there with this pandemic and in California with the cases are going up here rapidly out there?
You know what? We're doing fine, man. You know, compared to what a lot of people are going through right now, you know, we wake up every morning and count our blessings, man. We got, like you said, we got a little boy on the way. Just saw some new pictures of him. He's pretty feisty in there, and you know, we're pretty settled in here, close to family and friends, and so we're doing fine, man. We just, you know, obviously are really concerned with what's going on with COVID for people that don't have the means to work around this thing, and obviously what's going on in our country from a social injustice standpoint.
Now, Coach, you're bringing a young man to his world. Enough to make you really scared, you know, and really want to put more out here for you young black men because you're bringing one to his world, and how when we take away your status as a coach, mine as a radio host, that we're just black men. And that we're our targets, unfortunately, in this world. No matter what we do, once we take off our suits and our ties and our credentials, we're just David and JR in this world today. And how we can come about it and come past this. Hopefully, finally, our nation is changing for the better, for good.
No, you're exactly right. And I think sometimes people lose sight of that. They think, you know, because you hold a certain platform, that all of a sudden everything's good for you and everything's good for your family, but that's actually not true. You know, as you said, at the end of the day, you know, when we take off the suit or the whistle or whatever it may be, we leave our home. When that cop pulls us over, they don't see Coach Fisdale. They see a black man. And so it's just, you know, it's really important for us to continue to open, you know, these communication lines and spread the message and try to impact change. You know, our people don't know who our kids are. People don't really care about that once you're not entertaining them anymore. You know, and so I think it's just really important, and it's our responsibility to continue to get out the message and try to really change some things.
Yes, indeed, Coach. You know, I've been getting pushed back on the show here because I'll be using my show for racial justice right now because I feel like it's very important. I'm 33 years old. You're in your mid-40s. We are probably the first in our generation of our families to have, quote-unquote, full rights, but not really still be free because, of course, as we talked about it, when we go out, we have to move a certain way because if we're in a part-time that's not for us per se, or drive nice of a car, or just because we could have a gun in our head. George Floyd can be Coach Fisdale or J.R. McHenry. So it's like our listeners need to understand that, hey, this is a real issue, and we can't run from it anymore because people were trying to say, no, it's not really a problem. No, it's been a problem for years. Now, social media has made it where we can see it now. People can talk about it and engage about it, and finally, hopefully, Coach, get us over the hill of change. And John Lewis spoke about his whole life, who has passed away.
Yeah, and I think you're hitting it on the head from the standpoint of if people don't see it right in their face, they think it's not an issue. But you ask my family that live over here in South Central LA in Inglewood. You ask my my friends and some of my cousins who live in Memphis and out in Starkville, Mississippi, if this is a real issue. You know, my friends that live in Liberty City and Miami, if this is a real issue. People that's on the ground every day feeling the pressures and the occupation of bad policing. And, you know, so I think it's a naive way to look at things for people to get frustrated with you for using your platform to bring light to this. I say to those people, if we don't speak up for our community, who will? You know, we've been waiting years for everybody else to get it, you know, but at the same time, that's not moving the needle. And, you know, you bring up John Lewis. He's speaking to us from the grave right now and telling us to use our platforms, telling us to use every means possible so that human beings have basic rights on this planet. This isn't just about black people and what we go through. This is us fighting for basic human rights for everybody. It just so happens that we're killed at a exponential rate by police officers. We're brutalized at an exponential rate by police officers. So, yes, our fight is about that, but ultimately it's about just every single human being, you know, brown people, black people, LGBTQ community, women, you know, disabled folks. You know, this is about their rights too. And so, you know, if we can't speak on their behalf, who will?
Most definitely, Coach. You know, my mother and father grew up in segregated Nashville, Tennessee, segregated Atlanta, where they couldn't cross certain streets after dark for risk getting beaten. My mother showed me a letter when MLK got killed, where it was her prom night. She couldn't go to prom night without a letter because his death, the uprising in Nashville. So my parents grew up in that. So did George probably as well, grew up in that where they couldn't even go outside of towns without getting beat. So for me, I feel a need for my mother and father and my grandmother and grandfather who couldn't, that I have a platform now here in Atlanta and to use it for good to help people, and hopefully it reach one person who will change, who will help somebody else who will change. So just reaching one can lead us to a whole massive change, in my view, Coach.
I think you're doing the right thing, and you know, I always feel like, you know, it exposes people when you make them uncomfortable, and people have to start to take a side, and that's unfortunate to say, but they do. It's 2020, and you know, black men are still being killed in the streets by police, unarmed black men, and it's a time now that you either stand on the side of systematic hate and racism, or you're on the side of justice. And it's really no gray area in between that. And, you know, what I've always learned, I've always said this, to become comfortable with something, you have to get uncomfortable. And, you know, I think this is a time where we have to make everybody feel the discomfort that we felt for years and for generations. Like you said, my grandfather fled the Jim Crow laws in Mississippi, where as a young man, he and his brother to move to California for a better life, just to find out that it was right there waiting for him in Los Angeles. And, you know, for them to have the fortitude to fight this fight and to at least put us in the positions that we're in now, by no means will we be satisfied with the circumstances and let our foot off the gas. It is our responsibility as the baton, you know, the ones that's taking the baton, to really lead this fight and to make it better for our kids.
And Coach, I love what the NBACA is doing. Your committee, you guys are forming racial injustice and reform. I mean, Coach, what you guys have been doing for the community since George Floyd happened, since the pandemic, trying to get people to be aware. And I'm so happy to see that Lloyd Pierce here in Atlanta with the Hawks has been one of the lead men in the NBACA for us, getting this thing going. So talk about what you guys are doing as a collective of coaches and what Lloyd Pierce has been doing as a spearhead to get this thing going in the right direction here for you guys.
Well, you know, when George Floyd was killed, we were all obviously, you know, extremely angry and sickened by what took place. But Lloyd Pierce was the one that really galvanized the group and reached out to Rick Carlisle, our association president. And, you know, that day, Rick had all of us on the phone call. You know, obviously it meant a lot to me to be brought back into to the group from the standpoint of, I'm not necessarily coaching a team right now. And so for them to reach out to me and bring me into the fold on this fight really meant a lot to me. And Lloyd has, like I said, been the catalyst and the engine, really fueling this thing. And the things that our focus is on is, what we're trying to do. We're working closely with the EJI, Equal Justice Initiative, and Brian Stevenson, and with the Obama Foundation. And what we're really trying to do is a campaign for truth and reconciliation. Our big thing is how can we move forward in fixing these problems if we won't even tell the truth about what has happened and not having that willingness to reconcile with our past, whether it's slavery, the Jim Crow era, the war on drugs, the just absolute attack on our minority communities through the prison system. If we're not willing to deal with police brutality and what has happened in our communities and all of these different systemic things that have plagued us, then we won't be able to move forward. So we're really focused on educating our communities. We're really trying to bring to light past events that have taken place, in our individual communities, whether it's about police or some type of racist act or legislation trying to be pulled away from people, the right to vote and things like that. And so we're really setting a spotlight on that stuff. We're also trying to honor the families that have really suffered because of police brutality and police violence. And then, ultimately, our final goal is to really educate our communities on, voting. And it sounds cliche, but we're really talking about, fighting the disinformation campaign that's been put out there to keep people from going out and voting. We want to spread the right information, giving people real proper basic information about when to register, how to register, how to get absentee ballot, how to do mail-in voting. We're trying to open up as many arenas as possible as these super polling places so that people have a safe, efficient way, trustworthy way to get out and vote. And really just staying in our lane from the standpoint of, we looked at it and said, hey, we're coaches. What do coaches do? We teach, we educate, we lead, we bring people together. And so all of our focus has been on staying in our lane from that standpoint and really trying to put our best foot forward as an association. And I got to tell you, it's been a real honor for me to be collaborating with the group of men that are NBA head coaches. They are really dedicated to this, and I think we've all gained a higher level of expertise and knowledge when it comes to our history and laws and legislation.
And Coach Fizdale, I know Atlanta's already agreed to turn the State Farm Arena into a polling place. I know Detroit's doing it, so is Charlotte, so hopefully more get it as well. And let's talk about part of the guys in your association coach, Coach Stan Van Gundy. I had him on the show. He was so great how knowledgeable he was about what we have going on as black men in this world. And just talk about how Coach Van Gundy, Coach Kerr, and Coach Popovich and Coach Carlisle always have the right word to say, and they actually understand. They actually get it and are willing to speak truth to power and help us in this fight, because we know we need our white brothers and sisters to help us push this ball across the goal line here to get us the change that we all want and desire.
No, it's huge. And for them to understand that responsibility says a lot about them and their character. But it also brings up another, really important point is that here you have, these four white men with incredible character and conscience who want to contribute and do the right thing and speak up when they see injustice. But yet and still you catch black, or I catch black as a black man who want to do the same thing for his own community. But it's okay. It's okay for the white man to stand up for us and for them to galvanize us. But when we want to do it, it's this underlying fear that our careers may be in jeopardy. The backlash could become severe. Sponsorships may be threatened to be taken away from your show or from your team. And it's like, no, you stay in your place. We've let you get far enough, you stay in your place. And that's where to me, we have to keep fighting and get beyond that where, not only are we allowed to, but we are encouraged to speak up and speak out on behalf of our communities from the highest levels of the corporate chain. And, but it does take a pop, a curve, of Van Gundy or Carlisle to keep that message front and center, especially to the white community. Because like we all, a lot of us have said this, and I do believe this is a white problem. We're inflicted by it, we get hit by it, but we did not create this, and we did not invent this. And, we're not punching ourselves. And so, for it to get fixed, it's going to take our white brothers and sisters, especially ones with influence that can get to the right people to make the right changes.
And Coach, you make a great point because I have lost 3 sponsors already, and I was sent a bad letter from corporate in New York, but I don't care. I have a guaranteed contract 2022, so I don't care. So you actually are very correct, Coach, which is great. You hit down the head. I'm getting it right now in my role, but I don't care because this is bigger than me. I feel like it's my duty to speak up for my people and help my people move forward.
It is bigger than you. It's bigger than all of us. And what it shows you, like I said, is it exposes that discomfort will expose. And what it's doing is it's exposing people that are around you who have a interest in your show, but it's also showing you who they really are and what they really stand for. And, if this is bothering you to the point where you don't want to be a part of something good and help real change for people, then all you're doing is telling on yourself and really showing, that you're a part of the problem. You're a part of why we're here right now. As much as people think they aren't, they're not the ones with the baton or the ones that's kneeling on the neck. But ultimately, they really are. And they're contributing to the overall systemic, racism that keeps people down and keeps people in their place. And so it's just another tactic to scare you that they're going to try to use to get you to shut up. And just like they tell the players, shut up and dribble. They're gonna tell you shut up and do sports, and that's all people want to hear from you. But we're beyond that now, and it's time for people to get on the bus.
I said to him, coaches, if Lloyd Pierce talk about he's the head coach of Atlanta Hawks, I can too. It's more life against the Hawks and Falcons. It's more life than that, and I'm going to be about that life. So if Lloyd Pierce can do what I can too, we're in the same city together with 2 black men with platforms in the city of Atlanta, we have to do this for our people, which is Atlanta's most majority black city. So we have to do it for our people right here in the city of Atlanta.
Absolutely. And you sitting in the hub of civil rights. You sitting in the hub of Ralph Abernathy, Andrew Young, John Lewis, Dr. King. You talking about the greatest of the greats have come through there to try to bring along better change for our people. And these guys have streets named for them out there in Atlanta. And it is more to be there in this moment in time. As a black man, you have no choice. This isn't optional. I think that's what people think, is that this is optional for us. And, like I tell my wife, and I've said to other people, is, I want to look back, when my days are numbered on this planet, and when my kids sit around with me and my grandkids sit around with me and ask me, well, what did you do during 2020? What did you do when George Floyd was killed? When Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and all of these people were killed. What did you do to change anything? Did you just sit on the sideline, or did you get involved? Did you try to impact something? And I want to be able to look them in their eye and tell them I was in the fight and I was in the trench, and that they could be proud of their father or their grandfather, and that it's also their responsibility now keep the movement moving. So, I just think that's where we are, and we have to, again, like I said, this is not optional for us. This we have to do this.
Most definitely. I feel the calling, Coach. The moment it happened, I felt the call. Look here. I have a platform, 1.1 million listeners here in the city of Atlanta and beyond, from Chattanooga, Macon. I have to use my voice, and I don't care. Like I said, Coach, I have a guaranteed contract, so I won't be hurt no matter what you do. Any sponsor I lose, I can regain it back on my own, because I started this from the bottom. Now I'm here, so I know how to hustle and get sales and get advertising. I know how to make money with the radio. So you're not gonna hurt me if you try to fire me. I'll sue you and still get paid and be somewhere else. It doesn't matter to me. That's why I don't care to say on the air. I don't care, because this is bigger than me, bigger than you. It's for the people, not people going forward. That's how I see it. Because if John Lewis didn't care about the people going forward, he wouldn't have been on the bridge that day. MLK in the March of Washington, all these people wouldn't have did what they did. They cared about the now. It's about the future.
Yep, you got to think. They were telling MLK, slow down. Wait, don't try to do so much so fast. And, here we are in 2020, we still dealing with this. And so, it's like I bought a T-shirt the other day. I just thought it was really cool, but it had a picture of Kaepernick on it, but it had these great words. It says, when we stand up, y'all mad at us. When we sit down, y'all mad at us. When we kneel, y'all mad at us. When we protest, y'all mad. But when we die, y'all silent. And it just hits home that, here we are. Everybody's always trying to make it about the protests, and they're doing this and they're doing that, but no one seems to ever really want to lock in on what the hell we're protesting about, and focus in on the fact that we are dying out here. Our people are dying, and the same thing that was happening, to our grandparents through the lynching process is happening to us now through the policing process, and now all prisons are to just privatize, slave camps at the end of the day. And they're imprisoning the hell out of us and brown people. And so, we can't wait. We can't go at the pace that's comfortable for them and for everybody else. We have to push this thing forward. Like you said, John Lewis could have easily said, you know what, y'all, let's put this march off. And we wouldn't have the right to vote. Lyndon Johnson might not have passed the act. So, the fact that he had the courage to push forward despite the threats on his life, like you said, they threatened your career. John Lewis was almost killed. Martin Luther King was assassinated. These folks gave their life for us to have basic rights. And so who are we to sit on the sideline right now when they're speaking to us from their graves?
Most definitely, Coach. And I also want to run this by you, man. We here in the NBA community and the sports community, I feel like that it's a perfect time because sports usually brings people together. And that's great because, I didn't meet my first white kids. I was 7 years old playing travel baseball. And so being able to have guys like J.J. Redick and Caruso and Kyle Korver, who also understand by being around black guys, locker room with black guys, know where we're coming from because their voice is so important. Like Van Gunnen's voice is very important because having guys in the sports community who aren't we're just teammates, but we get to talking and we learn about each other from our perspectives. And that way they grow and help their people see us differently as well, not just entertainment or just when the jersey's on, I cheer for you. When it gets the jersey off, I don't care what happens to you other than our team won tonight.
Yeah, I think it's like you said, the needle will only move so much if it's just black people spreading the message, ranting and raving, fighting for this. Like, this only moves faster and forward with the assistance of our white colleagues. White players in the league, white folks in the corporate world, white people in the film industry. We need collaboration. And ultimately what I try to point out is this isn't a white against black thing. This is a hate against love thing. And so when you look at, if you just think about yourself as a person, and we was all blank slates, the people that's on the other side they just have hate in their heart. And everybody else has to be on the same team. And so if you take color out of it, where does that leave a lot of people? And I think more people are on the side of love than they are hate. And the sad part about the whole thing that really, it's part of me that really feels bad for underserved white communities, because what ultimately happens is they're being used to keep, you know what I'm saying, by elite, rich, racist whites to perpetuate this lie that black people are out to get you, that brown people are taking your jobs, all of this BS to keep us divided, where those white folks got the same problems as black people in our neighborhoods, whether it's food deserts or lack of opportunity for jobs, underserved schools that aren't healthy, that got lead in their water and everything else, mold in their classrooms. These folks don't have health care. If you take color off of it, we all look the same under those circumstances. And the sad part is those folks are being lied to keep us divided so that we don't come together to push this agenda forward. And so I'm always speaking to and trying to really shed light on the lies that's being spread, the misinformation that's being spread to the underserved white community, because at the end of the day, that's how they keep this thing going. If you look at the Capitol building over there in Michigan when all those guys showed up with their guns and their swastikas, a lot of those people are poor white people. And they have convinced them and twisted their minds into thinking that everyone else is the reason why their situation sucks. Whereas if they would just look at their own kind that has the money, they would start to see that it's not everybody else. It's your own people doing this to you. It's the people with the power, and starting with our president. And, it's amazing to me that they would follow a guy like that who has just literally just broken every vow that he's made to them. He buys his goods from China, but he acts like China's the one taking their jobs, right? Like, it's like, what are you talking about? Like, you're the reason why these folks are there, but he just keeps perpetuating that message of it's not us, it's them. And we just have to keep that battle alive and keep fighting, because I think a lot of people with this COVID are starting to see the truth, and that he don't give a damn about none of y'all except his reelection and his money. And I think the more people start to see that, the more we'll start to come together on other things, because now we have a common ground.
Well, Coach, last hour we discussed Medicaid expansion in Missouri that passed last night. And I talked about here in Georgia how in rural counties here in Georgia where the poor whites are, you have to go driving an hour and a half or 90 miles to see a nearest doctor. We could have spent Medicaid here and got you on the rolls here in Georgia. But in Missouri even, Kansas City and St. Louis carried it over the fence. But in the rural areas, they voted against it. Who needed it the most? I'm like, you constantly vote against your own interests because you've been fed the BS, as you said, Coach Fieldsdale. I'm like, if they ever see the light,
I don't know what will push it over the hump, but the thought of here we are in a pandemic, and he's getting everybody all riled up, rah on his side, but these same people are the ones that he's trying to take away their health care, and he's literally in the process of trying to end the ACA, the Obamacare Act, and get all of these people off of health care in the middle of a pandemic. Now, to me, I don't care how much you like somebody. My mom always taught me, don't go off of what people say, go off of what they do.
Amen.
And what he is doing to underserved white communities is really criminal. That's the best way I can put it. What he's doing during this pandemic is criminal. There are people dropping dead all over this country, whether you're in rural America or whether you're in the inner cities, it doesn't matter because pandemics don't see color. They don't see boundaries. It doesn't see any of that. All it sees is a possibility to spread. And the fact that he's going out of his way, he's put more time into taking away health care and hurting people than he is in trying to stop this thing. And that's really scary. And I'm just hoping that people start to see the actions of this person and not get caught up in this divisive message of this person.
Come on there, Coach. And I told somebody this on last week on the show. People only change when it hits their doorstep right in their backyard. So it's hitting
Exactly.
their backyards right now. So that's when the changes finally came because it's actually, wow, my grandmother died, or I got sick, or my family. So now it's at your doorstep. Now you see what we've been saying for 3.5 years that, oh, wow, he really is what they said he was.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, it's unfortunate that it comes to that people don't see things until it hits them. But, you know, ultimately, whatever it takes to get people to see the light, then that's what it takes. Because, you know, I never try to tell people what they should be doing, how they should vote, all of this stuff. I just want people to get out and vote and be able to participate in it. And what I try to, you know, especially in my own circles, because I got white friends that voted for him, and, you know, I got their parents who believe in some of that crap. And my thing to them is, well, at the end of the day, COVID doesn't care. At the end of the day, as long as COVID is running rampant, you can keep yelling, open the schools and open all that stuff. It's not going to happen. And so guess who's affected? Everybody. And it doesn't care if you white or black or Latinx or any of that. It is going to hit us all, one way or another. If you can't take your kids to school, that means you're not going to work at the end of the day. And so, and as much as all these people want to run around with masks off and hang out in bars and all, as long as that stuff's going on freely because we don't have a national plan to this, then it's going to affect everybody. And so at some point, like you said, it's coming into your yard, and you're going to have to deal with it, and you're going to have to face the reality that the person that's supposed to be leading us and taking us forward and getting us through this and really looking out for our safety is not doing his job.
And, Coach, I had to call out our people in Atlanta who promoting the clubs here, having parties, indoor pool parties. I'm like, what are you all doing? You're hurting us the most because you want to have a washed-up rapper have a concert inside of a club on Tuesday night for $1 because you want to make some money on liquor sales. I'm like, I have had to call out our people in Atlanta, our club promoters who some of my friends with, but they're wrong right there, Coach, because they're hurting our people. We shouldn't be having pool parties. We shouldn't be having club nights. Stop all that because it's hurting us so they're going to kill their grandmothers, or grandfathers, or uncles, or aunts who may have this condition and die from this disease. It's Coach,
Absolutely.
Blows my mind, man.
No, it's you know, it's unfortunate that you have, you know, short-sighted people who often are running these events because they say, oh, well, I can make this much money off of this tonight, or I can do this, but that's going to end up keeping us closed longer. And that's the thing that, to me, is mind-boggling, that people want to rush to get back to normal life, but they don't realize if you don't do the work on the front side, we're never getting back to normal. We're never getting back to anything close to normal because as long as this thing keeps spreading, they're going to keep shutting us down. And they have to do it. It's just no other way around it. You have to shut things down when super spreads are happening, and these it's really a selfish way to go about life when you're having these parties and you're having these, these open bars and people not wearing masks. Like the whole mask thing is just that one. How it became political is just beyond me, and it just goes to show you the influence of our president. But it's like, at the end of the day, I look at it as the same as smoking indoors, right? Like, okay, a cigarette, it's going to kill you faster, but secondhand smoke also kills. So if you don't wear a mask, you're killing me too. And it's like, that should not be put in the freedoms part of being an American. Like, I thought we were supposed to be about our neighbor and look out for each other. That's no right. You don't have no inalienable right to be able to kill other people with your virus. Like, that makes no sense to me. And so I just think it's a really, quite honestly, a selfish part of our society who really don't give a damn about others. It's really just about them. And, it's really an unfortunate thing that, I don't know if that's something that we'll be able to combat unless the President of the United States steps up and makes things federal law and mandate things federally. Because otherwise, out there in Georgia, you got the damn governor suing Mayor Bottoms
Exactly.
because she's trying to save people's life. Like, what's like that? If that don't tell you about how somebody feel about you, then I don't know what does. The fact that he's trying to stop her from saving lives, and that just, to me, is just unconscionable. So, when you have his minions doing that kind of work, just to win favor with him and somehow, I guess, sustain a certain voting base, to me, it's just sickening and it's scary, and it just goes to show you the depths of selfishness and selfishness and greed that plagues our country.
That's what I got for you, Coach. Thank you for your time this morning. And I'm blown every break. I don't care. You've been so good. But so, Coach, tell me this. What is your fondest memory of coaching against the Hawks in Atlanta? Because I know you've been here many a time to coach against the Hawks. What's your fondest memory of coming here to coach and playing against the Hawks, whether it be when you was in Miami, out in Golden State, or when you coach the Knicks, or with the Grizzlies?
I would say probably I would say two moments in time was my fondest. One, when I was coaching with the Hawks, I remember the series we played when we finally made the playoffs, and we played Boston as a 1-8 series, and Mike Woodson was the head coach, and we pushed them to 7 games. That was an incredible moment in time for our young team. And then when I came back with Miami with the Big Three the first time to Atlanta, and just the energy in the building and the crowd, and it was electric, and it was a fun night. So I'll always remember those times. Atlanta's really close to my heart. I got a lot of close friends there. Living there for 4 years and coaching with the Hawks, I've gotten to know a lot of people there, and it just, to see what Coach Pierce is doing, who's one of my best friends in the game, really makes me proud. And to see what the Hawks organization is standing for, the city should really be behind them.
Yeah, I love that team you was assistant coach with, Coach. I love Woody's team, and I loved how Zaza stood up to Kevin Garnett and got us riled up, man, and excited. I mean, I was loving them days, man. But that team
of
made the
ISO
Hawks
Joe
relevant again.
That was the invention of ISO Joe Johnson. He took over that series and literally carried us on his back to a 7-game series. So it's a great moment in time for the growth of that organization, and it was the first step out of them struggling and moving forward to becoming a playoff team.
Well, Coach Fizdale, you've been great with your time. I told you I blew through every break and on the man. I was not going to cut you off. It was so damn good. So, Coach, we got to do this again real soon, brother. I thank you so much for your time, Coach. Hope to see you down the road again. Hope you and your wife stay safe in California. And we got to keep pushing, fighting on, Coach.
Hey, man, I appreciate you having me on, and you just keep those blinders on, and you keep going forward with the message and leading from your platform, because what you're doing is right action, and you're doing something good for your community. And anybody that's not down with that, it just tells you a lot about who they are and what they're about.
Well, definitely, Coach. Thank you for your time, Coach. We'll do it again soon, brother. But stay safe, Coach.
All right, buddy. Take care.
All right. Dave Fizdale on the Bossman Show.